All right. So why did you join the service? Like in the Army and Navy, like what made you?
Well, I joined the Navy because I wanted to be a flyer. So that's what I joined, was the Navy Air Force. But before you can get in there, you had to have so much college, and I just got out of high school. So they paid for my tuition to go to Colgate University for college.
Okay, so you want to be a flyer in the Navy, and then how did you get into the Army?
Well, I got drafted.
Oh, okay.
See, when I got out of the Navy, I was put in what they call their inactive reserve. All right. And then I thought, I was going into civilian life. But anyway, which I did. But then when the Korean War started, Congress passed a law that said you could be drafted out of the inactive reserves. So when I got my notice, to go into the Army, I was in there with the guys from the Marines and the Air Force. We were all drafted into the Army. Mr. Truman did that, Harry Truman.
Yeah.
He signed the bill.
A melting pot of people there. So what was your job assignment during the war, in the Korean War, and Army too?
Well, when I got drafted, and then went through basic training and stuff like that, did the basics. And then I went to, they just shipped me overseas. And they just put you in the back of a truck. And they drove down this road and they said, okay, you get off here, you get off here, you get off here. These guys went in like mine detection units, and other guys went into the infantry, and I just sitting in the truck, and they said, okay, you get off here. So I said, well, where do we go? So just go there and ask for the sergeant. So I went over there, and it was a Searchlight company. It was that Searchlight company. I had no idea what a Searchlight company was all about,
So you just learned it on the spot pretty much?
Oh, yeah, sure.
So that was during the Korean War, correct?
Yeah.
And then for the Army, you were just going through college?
No, that was the Navy.
The Navy. So then
Army was overseas in Korea. The Navy, I was going to be a flyer, and that was at the end of World War II.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So did you actually see any physical hand-to-hand combat? Or
No, they couldn't get close enough to us.
Yeah.
We were just like this. We were sitting up on the top of a mountain with the light sitting up here, and all the action was about 5 miles down the road or so. So when our lights were turned on, it was like indirect illumination, The lights set up high like that, and then we'd use what they call a broad beam as opposed to a pencil beam. Used a broad beam on the light. It got real wide light, and it just aimed that up at the clouds. And then we had a forward observer, FO, and he would see he was down where the action was. He was telling us what to do with the lights, azimuth and elevation, up and down and this way and this way. He'd say, okay, move it a little, to the right, raise it up a little bit, and then he could see where the lights were, where it was reflecting. So if there was any clouds, we just shoot them right into the clouds, and that just lit up the whole battlefield up there, so to speak.
Pretty much like you're fighting in daylight.
Yeah, because those things were 22 million candle power.
Yeah.
Those lights. When that thing went on, you could read a newspaper with that light 5 miles away. That's how bright they were.
Pretty intense stuff then.
Oh, yeah.
So did you have any fears while you were there, or you just, I know you were away from the combat and everything, but were you ever afraid that, the enemy could come at you, or?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I know one time when we were moving the lights, and it got to be supper time, and we had, we stopped to eat, and we had to just pull all the trucks off to the side of the road. I'll never forget that, because it was just starting to get dark. It was still daylight, so we pulled all these vehicles over, and everybody got in the chow line, and we ate our dinner, and they said, I think we're going to just camp here tonight. I said, well, where the hell are we? Out in the middle of nowhere, alongside an old field or road or something, So, and then it got dark. I said, no, this is not good. First of all, you have to understand that the North Koreans, the Chinese were helping them. Okay, so you had a mixture of Chinese and North Koreans, and of course you couldn't tell them apart. But these guys were your enemies, so to speak, you know, and they looked, you couldn't tell them apart from the South Koreans, the friendly ones, you know. So we're set up next to this road after supper this night, and everybody, oh, well, all of a sudden that thing, see, they didn't have artillery. So, I mean, it wasn't like, we had big guns, you know. We could shoot and be miles away, you know. In fact, these big long guns, they call them long toms, they were 8 inches, 8-inch bore on those. Those things would come up during the day and in the afternoon, and they'd set up a position, and then when it got dark, they'd start firing like late afternoon. So we'd be done eating something, we'd sit there and watch these guys. They'd be boom, 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 boom. But you couldn't see what they were shooting at because it was, you know, in some cases it was over 5 miles away where those shells were going. So, but this night, after we got done eating and we were alongside this room, all of a sudden we heard it, boom, 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 boom. I said, what is that? And there was a sound going here, and then here are these Chinese Koreans. They had started moving down when it started getting dark. They started moving down, and I don't think they even knew we were there.
Oh,
you
really?
know, because they were shooting mortars. You couldn't hear them. You know, they just when you fire a mortar, so you just drop it down, and it goes. You know, and you couldn't hear it coming. With artillery, you could hear those things going out. Mortars, you don't hear them. They just, because it was, you know, in some cases it was over 5 miles away where those shells were going. So, but this night, after we got done eating and we were alongside this room, all of a sudden we heard it, boom, 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 boom. I said, what is that? And there was a sound going here, and then here are these Chinese Koreans. They had started moving down when it started getting dark. They started moving down, and I don't think they even knew we were there.
Oh,
you
really?
know, because they were shooting mortars. You couldn't hear them. You know, they just when you fire a mortar, so you just drop it down, and it goes. You know, and you couldn't hear it coming. With artillery, you could hear those things going out. Mortars, you don't hear them. They just boom, wait, and then we go boom, boom. They set up a pattern. You know, and I said, we don't need to be here. You know, they used to say, let's cut a chokey out of here, get in the truck, and we're starting to drive in the dark with no lights on, so we couldn't see where we were going. Oh man, this is horrible.
Yeah.
So we did manage to get far enough away, so we set up again in the dark, and we just spent the night there until it got daylight.
Anything that you wanted to like make sure
Emphasize?
that stays in, so because we're gonna edit it down.
Just enjoy what you've got.
Yeah.
You don't really know what you've got until you don't have it anymore. You can't do that. You know, being able to go down and eat dinner and stuff in your house and stuff like that, you know, that's a luxury actually. A lot of places overseas, these people over there, those Koreans, they didn't know where their next meal was coming from. You see them sitting out there in the field with their little bowl of gohang or kimchi and rice, you know, where they're going down with their chopsticks. And we're sitting up here, we're eating good compared to what they had. These kids used to all stand around the garbage can out there. When you go to dump your tray or empty your mess kit, they'd be right there to grab some of that, you know. So that was good eating for them.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
It's all right. Glad to do it.
And I guess we'll hopefully...
Did we convince you guys to join the Army or Navy or Marines?
No.
Absolutely not.
All right, thank you.
All right, you're welcome.